This video will show how to work two new stitches used in the plot twist shawl. The stitches are the knit two together through the back of the loops, knit through the back of the loops stitch, and the knit through the back of the loop, knit two together stitch. The plot twist shawl features vertical columns of single knit stitches, as well as traveling stitches, which angle left and right as they travel across a background of reverse stockinette stitch. In my other video, Knit Together Cross Traveling Stitches, which is linked below, I demonstrate how to work those unique stitches. When designing plot twist, I had to consider how to work the foundation stitches for the Knit Together Cross Traveling Stitches. These are the stitches that intersect with the vertical rib borders of the shawl. I started with the most obvious option of having the innermost stitch of the 1x1 border rib become the foundation or first stitch of the knit together cross traveling stitches. However, this interrupted the vertical flow of that innermost rib stitch, and it was not the look I wanted. In an effort to avoid interrupting the flow of the rib border, next I tried starting the knit together cross traveling stitches with the two stitches immediately beside the rib. I achieved that uninterrupted flow of the ribbing, but the traveling stitches looked disconnected from the ribbed border and were visually jarring with their abrupt beginnings. Finally, while experimenting with ways to make the foundation stitches more elegant and seamless, I created the two stitches that were used in the plot twist shawl. The trick in each stitch is to reorient the first stitch of the two stitches before working them. This allows the traveling stitch to appear to emerge from under the ribbed border. The two new stitches are the knit two together through back loops, knit through back loop, and the knit through back loop, knit two together. While the stitch names are a mouthful, working the stitches is straightforward and easy, as you will see next. These stitches are the rib border on the right edge of the plot twist shawl. The two stitches to be worked are the final knit stitch in the border and the purl that's immediately to its left. Since I knit Western style, the leading leg of my stitches comes over the front of the needle. To work the knit two together through the back loops, knit through the back loop, I must reorient the first stitch on the left-hand needle. To do this, I insert the tip of my right needle knitwise into the stitch, and I slip it over to the right-hand needle, and then slip it back to the left-hand needle. This reorientation means that the two stitches have their backs facing one another. It also means that the leg of the first stitch coming over the front of the needle leads directly to the leg of the second stitch that's going over the front of the needle. This U shape means that those stitches are more closely aligned, and they will lay closely together when worked, with the second stitch appearing to emerge from behind the first stitch. With that first stitch reoriented, I'm going to knit two together through the back loop. I leave the work stitches on the left-hand needle, and next I knit through the back of the second stitch through the back loop. Now the work stitches can be slipped off of that left-hand needle. The result looks unusual, but the stitches will straighten out and lay properly when subsequent rows are worked. That first knit stitch is part of that uninterrupted rib border, and the second stitch appears to be emerging from behind the ribbed border, and it will act as the foundation of the traveling stitches that are worked in subsequent rows. Next, I will demonstrate how to work the knit two together, knit through the back of the loops, knit through the back of the loop in continental style. I've worked back to where we started before, and that was with the right-hand border of rib stitches in the plot twist shawl. And we will be working with the knit stitch, again, that is on the innermost side of that right-hand border, plus the purl stitch that is immediately to its left. I have to reorient my stitch, my first stitch, because I knit Western style and the leg is coming over the front of the needle. I need it to come over the back of the needle So I'm going to slip that stitch to my right hand needle, slip it back. So now that leg is coming from behind the needle, and this leg is coming over the needle and then directly over into the second stitch. So those stitches are snugged up nicely when they are worked together. With that first stitch reoriented, I'm going to knit 2 together through the back loop. I leave the stitches on the left hand needle, and now I knit the second stitch once again through the back loop. I have to catch all my yarn, there we go. And now I can slide those work stitches off the left hand needle. The result is that funny looking stitch that we saw a moment ago in the English demonstration, but we recall that it will straighten itself out with subsequent rows of work. These stitches are the left edge border of the plot twist shawl. The 2 stitches to be worked are the purl stitch that's immediately to the right of the border and the first knit stitch in that ribbed border. Again, since I knit Western style, the leading leg of my stitches comes over the front of the needle. To work the knit through back loop, knit 2 together, I must reorient this first stitch on the left hand needle. As before, I insert the tip of my right hand needle knitwise into the stitch. I slip it to the right hand needle and then back to the left hand needle. Now the backs of the 2 stitches are beside each other, and the leading leg from the first stitch comes over the front of the needle and then back up over the needle as part of the second stitch. The resulting orientation of these 2 stitches means that the work stitches will lay closely together, with the first stitch appearing to emerge from behind the second stitch. So with that first stitch reoriented, I'm going to knit that first stitch through the back of the loop. I leave the work stitch on the left hand needle, and next I knit those 2 stitches together. The work stitches may be slipped off the left hand needle. This knit stitch serves as the foundation of the traveling stitches that will be knit on subsequent rows, and this knit stitch continues that uninterrupted edge of the rib border. I've gone back to where we were when I began to demonstrate the knit through the back of the loop, knit 2 together, and that is at the left border of the plot twist shawl, where I have the purl stitch that's immediately to the right of the beginning of that knit border, and we will work again those 2 stitches, so the purl and then the knit. So working this continental style, I still have to reverse the orientation of my first stitch. This is the Western orientation with the leading leg off the front of the needle. I need it off the back of the needle, so I'm going to insert my right hand needle tip in, slip the stitch over to the right hand needle, and then slip it back to the left hand needle. And once again, we get that U shape between the leg coming off the first stitch, leading directly through to the second stitch. And the backs of the stitches are together, so they'll lay snugly. So the first step, once the stitch is reoriented, is to knit that first stitch through the back loop. I leave that work stitch on the needle, and the second step is to simply knit those first 2 stitches together. I can now drop the stitches that have been worked off that left hand needle, and there we have what will become the start of the traveling stitches, and we know that it snugs in nicely under that border rib.